Okay, admit it. Don't you just love a good scary story? Especially as these nights start, getting longer. And isn't there like a little part of you, maybe just a sliver, that wonders, what if? What if it's actually true?
It's true.
And that's what we're diving into today.
Yep.
Someone sent in a collection of these creepy first-hand accounts, and we're going to read them. And...
I love this stuff.
But more than just spooking you, we're also asking, why are we so drawn to these tales, even when, let's face it, we're totally skeptical?
Yeah. I think what's so fascinating is that a good scare, even if it's from a story, and, logically we know it's probably made up, it still triggers something super primal,
Totally.
It's like our brain's offering up this dose of adrenaline and anxiety, even though, we're not in any real danger.
It's true. It's like a safe space to explore all those what ifs. Our first story, The Man in the Window, this is a perfect example. It's such a slow burn.
I fell for this.
The kind that just ratchets up the tension with every little detail.
That slow burn is so effective because it really mirrors how anxiety builds in actually unsettling situations.
Yeah.
So it allows the listener to really inhabit that feeling of unease.
So picture this. You've just moved into your first place. Cute little house. It's on a quiet street. You're so excited for a fresh start. But then your sweet older neighbor, Mrs. Anders, she gives you this kind of strange warning.
What's that?
She's like, keep your curtains drawn at night.
At night. Oh, that's creepy.
Right.
Yeah, it's right away, the story disrupts that sense of normalcy.
Right.
That we expect. And it introduces this subtle threat. It plays on our innate need for safety and security.
Especially in a new environment, right? You don't know.
Exactly, when you're already kind of on edge.
Exactly. And it gets even creepier. So every night, the storyteller sees Mrs. Anders just sitting in her darkened living room, staring directly at their house. Not waving, not saying hi, just watching.
No, thank you. That image of the unseen observer, it taps into this, really deep-seated fear. It's rooted in our evolutionary past. I mean, think about it. For millennia, darkness hid predators.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
So we're instinctively wary of things lurking just beyond our sight.
Honestly, I would be freaked out if my neighbor was just staring at my house all day,
Right.
But the storyteller tries to ignore it, But one night, they forget to close their curtains, and guess what?
What?
They hear a soft knocking on the window, right next to where they're, lying on the couch, half asleep.
No way. Oh, that's terrifying. Using the home, a place where we're supposed to feel safe and comfortable, and then disrupting it like that. The vulnerability being watched when you think you're alone.
Totally. Looking through the window, they see this tall, thin figure.
Oh, no.
Just a silhouette pressed up close to the glass.
Oh, just a silhouette is creepy enough. You don't need to see details.
No.
To be totally freaked out, right?
Yeah. It's like something straight out of a nightmare, honestly. And get this, the figure, he raises his hand and he taps again 3 times this time, like a signal or something.
Ooh.
And then he waves.
No.
A long, creepy wave.
Oh, see, and that's where it gets really unsettling.
Yeah.
The wave, that introduces this element of intentionality.
Yeah.
Familiarity almost. It's
Yeah.
way creepier than just aggression.
It's true.
The figure's acknowledging you, almost toying with you.
Yeah, hey, I see you. It's bone chilling. The storyteller finally snaps out of it, grabs their phone, I'm calling 911. But of course, by the time they look back, the figure, he's gone. Melted back into the darkness. But here's where it gets really weird. They look across the street, right, to Mrs. Anders' house, and
She's still there.
She's still there.
Watching.
Still in her window. But now, the figure's standing right behind her.
No way.
And he waves again.
Oh, stop.
I know. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
That is so creepy. It's like a closed loop of fear, right?
Yes.
The protagonist is trapped
Totally.
between this unsettling presence in their own home and then this, seemingly connected observer right across the street.
And then you find out later, Mrs. Anders had been dead for days.
What?
So it's who or what was that figure?
Oh, my gosh. It's those kind of endings that just stay with you,
Totally.
long after you finish the story.
Speaking of things that linger, our next tale, this one takes us to a place I think a lot of people find inherently creepy, especially at night.
What's that?
A cemetery.
Ooh, yeah. Classic trapped in a spooky place scenario.
Right. It's a total trope, but it endures for a reason.
It's true because, cemeteries are they're culturally loaded spaces. They're imbued with centuries of folklore and fear.
For sure. This story comes from a 13-year-old, and it starts with a pretty classic setup. Sleepover, parents are out of town, they sneak into the alcohol cabinet, typical teenager stuff.
Classic. Love it. That teenage perspective, too, is so crucial. It adds this layer of relatability, right? Because it reminds us that, like, even amidst all the supernatural stuff, there's this very human element at play.
Oh, totally. So, of course, they decide to go on an adventure. Where do they end up? The cemetery.
Naturally.
Now, I don't know about you, but even in broad daylight, cemeteries kind of give me the creeps.
Oh, yeah. They're places of quiet contemplation, but they're also, like, these stark reminders of our own mortality.
That's so true.
The story just taps into all that unease.
For sure.
And then it just, like, heightens it with the cloak of darkness.
And because, teenagers, fueled by a little liquid courage, they decide, let's play hide and seek. But as they're trying to leave, guess what?
What?
They realize they're locked in.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
See, that's scary. Being trapped in a cemetery at night, that's like a potent fear. It taps into our anxieties about, like, confinement, isolation, the unknown.
It's true.
Forces the characters and even the listener to just, like, confront those fears head on.
And remember, they're 13, a little drunk, probably smelling like, their parents' liquor cabinet. Not exactly a situation you want to call home about.
Oh, man. I'd be, like, desperately texting my friends, like, help me.
Right, trying to climb the fence, anything to get out. They mentioned being, scared out of their minds.
Honestly, who wouldn't be?
I know.
Like, it just highlights the power of suggestion, right?
Totally.
Especially when we're already feeling vulnerable. Our brains are wired for pattern recognition. So it's so easy to transform, like, these ambiguous sights and sounds into, like, terrifying threats, especially when we're in that heightened emotional state.
It's so true. Speaking of terrifying, are you ready for our final story? This one is short.
Hit me.
But it really gets under your skin.
Okay.
It's about a doppelganger, and it'll make you wonder if seeing is really believing.
Ooh, doppelgangers.
Yeah.
Okay, those are, like, few things tap into the uncanny valley like that. It's like seeing something that looks, almost human, but it's just slightly off. It's just, like, deeply unsettling.
Absolutely. So picture this. You're about 12 years old. You're hanging out with your dad in his room. Your mom is in the closet. The lights are off, but you can see her silhouette. She's, like, folding laundry.
Okay. Seems innocent enough, right?
Right.
Like mundane domestic scene. But you've already, primed the listener with this idea of a doppelganger. So, their guard is already up.
Exactly. And then their dad asks their mom a question, and
yeah,
there's no answer.
Oh, no.
He calls her name, like, a couple times, getting louder, but still nothing.
See, and that's it. It's like that break in the expected pattern.
Yeah.
The unanswered question, it just, like, immediately introduces tension. It's subtle, but our brains, they pick up on those discrepancies. Like, it signals something's not right.
It's true. Like, you just get this weird feeling.
Yeah.
And naturally, the storyteller, they get up, walk to the closet, are about to look inside when suddenly they hear their mom's voice from behind them.
Oh, no.
She's like, why are you yelling?
Oh, see, that's like the classic horror movie jump scare, right?
I know.
But instead of a sudden appearance, it's like they use sound to create that initial shock.
Yes. And it gets better when they turn around. Their mom is standing there in a towel, fresh out of the shower.
Okay.
And the closet, empty.
Ooh, see, and that's where the story really enters, like the uncanny valley.
I know, right?
The protagonist and their father,
yeah,
they both clearly saw this figure that looked exactly like their mom, same clothes, same hairstyle.
Everything.
But it was so obviously not her.
Exactly. It makes you question everything. And the fact that both the storyteller and their dad witnessed the same thing, it's like, okay, this is not just, an overactive imagination.
Shared experiences, they just lend this, like, powerful sense of validation. Like, if one person had seen it, you might question their perception. But two witnesses, that's hard to dismiss.
It's true. It's way harder to dismiss. So we've journeyed through shadowy figures, a cemetery scare, and even a doppelganger.
I'm spooked.
Each story playing on, those primal fears, the things that just keep us up at night.
It's true. And I think it just reminds us that fear itself is a storyteller.
Oh, yeah.
It shapes our perceptions. It shapes our experiences. And even when, logically we know a story might not be true, our emotions, they can just transport us to that place of, unease, fascination, and, yeah, even a little bit of enjoyment.
It's true. There's a reason we keep telling these stories. As we wrap up our deep dive into these real-life scary stories, just something to think about. Think about your own relationship with the unexplained. Why are you drawn to these stories? What does that say about our, need to believe in something beyond the ordinary? Maybe keep a light on tonight.
Yeah, maybe 2.
And let us know what you think. Until then, thanks for joining us on the deep dive.